Let's bring in co-chair of the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations, Stefan Romaniw. Stefan, thanks so much for your time. Most countries are preparing for New Year's celebrations. Russia has battered Ukraine with missiles that's killed at least 3 people and electricity cut again. The cities of Kyiv, the western city of Lviv and Kharkiv in the east were targets. Do we know exactly what Russia is aiming at, what they're targeting, what they're trying to hit and why?
I think we shouldn't be we should understand what's happening here. Putin from February 24th has tried to dominate Ukraine, has had no respect for human life, whether he sends missiles into a kindergarten, whether he sends it into a maternity hospital with a young girl who was 2 hours old, who died, or whether you hear that older gentleman speaking about, well, today it was me, tomorrow it'll be somebody else. What he's trying to do is trying to pressure Ukraine into a particular position. And I think Mayor Klitschko summarised it very, very well. We may not have light, we may not have power, we may not have water, but we will continue to fight. I mean, what he's trying to do is screw down Ukraine, and President Zelenskyy and the Ukrainian people are very resilient. They've put the 10-point plan. Obviously, the international community supports that 10-point plan, but you shouldn't expect too much out of Putin in terms of negotiation. He has no respect for human life. He has no respect for international conventions. So people shouldn't be too surprised at what he's doing. You know, if you look at different war zones over different periods of time, people had a little bit of respect at these times of, you know, whether it was Christmas or whether it was Easter or New Year's. Putin will continue, and I spoke to people last night in Kyiv. Obviously, people understand that this is going to continue. What can we do? I think the strong message is give Ukraine the military assistance that it needs. If it today shot down all those drones and missiles, imagine if they had all the equipment that they required. They will win this. But people shouldn't be too surprised with anything Putin's doing. And that's why we're calling for him to be brought behind bars. We're calling on him to be brought to the International Crimes Court. This is war crimes at its best. And I think people need to start understanding, and this is his attempt to genocide. You know, we had 1932-33, we had the Holodomor. In 2022, we have another genocide. What's genocide? It's the eradication of a nation. He won't succeed.
Wasn't there talk of a ceasefire around Christmas and New Year's as well?
In a normal situation, I've just come back from Ukraine. The Ukrainian officials, again, called for that because it is Christmas. It's a time of celebration. It would give people at least a little bit of time to regroup. His regrouping is a regrouping of soldiers and readying for the next attack. So there will be no ceasefire with Putin. And, you know, once and for all, the world needs to understand who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a tyrant who has no respect for human life, has no respect for international law, has no respect for international convention. Those apologists for him and those who are suggesting that today Ukraine should somehow, you know, let's just give a bit of the territory away because that will solve the problem. There are too many dead soldiers on the Ukrainian side for over the last 8 years since the annexation of Crimea, for Ukraine just to say it's you know, let's just give something away. Ukraine has sovereignty. 1991, the borders were set. The international community has accepted it. The United Nations has accepted it. Russia doesn't accept it. A couple of his puppets like Lukashenko and a couple of other countries may be supporting him. The international community does not support him. We need to once and for all understand who we're dealing with. This is not a rational person. This is not a person you're going to bring to a table and say, well, let's negotiate. I've said time and time again, in diplomacy, there's always a win-win situation. With Putin, there is not win-win.
Stefan, can I just ask you, you've just come back from Ukraine. There's hardly any electricity or heating over there at the moment. It's -20 on some days in some areas of Ukraine. Can you describe to us what it's like? It must be so grim over there at the moment.
Look, people. For example, we through the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations, we're funding shelters, and I was in Irpin and in Bucha, those places that have been shot up. You know, people have got a roof over their head. It's cold, but it's a roof over their head. Obviously, they're living with the fact that it's going to be cold, but they understand that ultimately, what's the end goal? This sufferance they're going through for a while, they will endure this. This is not the first time they've endured some sort of sufferance. Of course, it's not comfortable. Would we in Australia be able to, hack the fact that we're -10, -20, and we can't turn on our heaters? They are somehow resilient, whether it's opening fires with wood or finding some other way of at least coming together and staying warm, because they know at the end of the day, Ukraine will win, and there's nothing you can do about it. At the moment, we're trying to get generators over there internationally. We're trying to do as much as we can, but at the end of the day, these people are resilient. They are there for the long haul. And I think we take our hats off to them because, they've shown us what it means to fight for what? For values, for freedom, for sovereignty. That's what this is all about. And they're fighting this for all of us. And I can only say thank you to the Australian government, the Australian people for our undivided support of Ukraine. Because being in Ukraine, when they find out you're from Australia, the first thing they say is, they don't necessarily just say Bushmasters. They say thank you for your support. So we're calling on the broader Australian community to keep supporting our Ukraine crisis appeal. We're trying to get thermal wear over there. It is cold, but as Klitschko said, it's uncomfortable. They're trying to keep us depressed. Won't happen. We will build. And I think, just to finish off, if you look at what happened in Ukraine on Christmas Eve, in some places there was power, in other places there weren't. Families came together. Soldiers in bunkers were celebrating Christmas Eve. Soldiers on the fields were celebrating Christmas Eve. The resilience is there, and our call out is, let's not get Ukraine fatigued. Let's not think this is over. And these missiles that he's sending, people are living with that. People sometimes say, well, how do people live with it? Well, we're living with COVID at the moment. We understand that tomorrow, we could get COVID, but we move out. And as that elderly gentleman said, well, today it was me, but you know what? If you interpreted what he said, I've got to clean up the yard. I've got to clean up inside my building because it's got to be clean. But it could be somebody else who's going to be doing this tomorrow. So
yes,
we know who we're dealing with. He's a tyrant. And again, could I just say to Sky News, to all of you at Sky News, we are eternally grateful to you for your support over these 9 months. Sky has been fantastic. And to all the staff at Sky and all the producers, thank you for giving us an opportunity to share the message with the broader Australian people. And we say Happy New Year. With the
thank you, Stefan.
23 will be better.
Thank you so much, Stefan Romaniw. Really appreciate your thoughts there, and we'll hopefully talk to you in the new year.
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.